I'm here on behalf of BeInCrypto, and before the interview today, make sure to go and check out their website, www.beincrypto.com, for crypto news, trading advice, and much more. Also, you can join their Telegram at BeInCrypto community to discuss trading and be a part of the community there. Now for the video. Hey everyone, I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, and today we're here with Dave from Truthraider.com. Thank you so much for being on the show, and if you want to just start off by introducing yourself a little bit, that'd be awesome.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks, Scott. So again, my name is Dave. I've been in crypto since 2017. Got my start at a crypto ATM in Jacksonville, Florida, one of Charlie Shrem's ATMs, and I've basically been down the rabbit hole since then. I've worked for a couple conventions in Malta, Istanbul, a DC convention, and one in Austria. So been focused on conventions, as well as right now I'm also working with a mining group to help with business development. So been in it for a couple of years and just happy to be in the space, really.
Awesome. So in terms of like Truthraider, how did that get started, and how did the name how did you get the name? Is it sort of like a play on like Tomb Raider, or feel free to elaborate?
So growing up, I'm was a pretty big gamer nerd. So I played the old school Tomb Raider games way back in the day when it wasn't cool to play a PC video game, like a long time ago. So
I remember the old Tomb Raider,
yeah, the old school Tomb Raider games, and it was ahead of its time. I mean, on PC, and then it got popular with movies and everything else. So basically, just took the play on words with the name, and I just kind of ran with it, to be honest.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So you wanted to dive into the collateralization of Bitcoin. Do you want to just jump into that?
Yeah. So again, I'm not an OG Bitcoin guy, right? So I came into Bitcoin in 2017, right before the peak, when it went crazy. And everybody was just, making crazy amounts of money, right? But they were all speculating on price. So everybody came in during the ICO craze, the price speculation craze. People were just buying with that only intention, from my perspective, or trying to make a 10x on an ICO. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward to 2020. And financial service companies and investment companies don't care about that type of mentality. They're more focused on repeated gains, year over year with the steady rates. So what I see the investment banker and the investment grade people coming in 2020, and all they want to know is if I go buy a couple Bitcoin this year, or X amount, whatever the number is, what kind of return can I look at? And that's where the collateralization side with companies like Celsius, BlockFi, Nexo, they're coming at it from a different angle. So they're going to get more adoption, I think, that way, because if you already have money, you already have a house, you have a successful career, you're not going to just go buy Bitcoin to price speculate. It doesn't process the same way a guy like me came in 17. Like, my mentality is not the same. So I think the collateralization side, and also giving out loans. There's a new companies are starting to use Bitcoin as collateral for loans. I think you're going to see it in the future, maybe for buying a house. Who knows? I mean, it could be for 5 years from now, you could have a 15-year loan collateralized off of Bitcoin to go buy your home, and the Bitcoin just sits in an escrow. I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless if Bitcoin continues doing what it's doing. So I kind of see that as the next wave of adoption, with bringing new people in, kind of,
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Do you think institutions will ever eventually adopt something like this and have lending and do similar things that we're seeing already?
Yeah, I think you're already seeing it. So like when you look at a company like Crypto.com, they're another one that I use quite often, and they already have insurance, right? So they've got I think it's Lloyd's of London or something. It's like $400 million of insurance against crypto assets that they hold in their portfolio. So I think right now it's kind of like in beta test. You know what I mean? Like this whole collateralization process. But I think in 5 years it's going to be normal. It's just going to be another asset class like collateralizing off of gold, silver, real estate. It's just, I think we're not there yet, though. I think right now, I think we're 5 years off from it being normal. You know, like right now, it's just too experimental. That's kind of my take.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me too. Yeah, in 5 years or when it starts to become very normal, what else do you think we should expect to see?
I think from my perspective, so you're going to see like the mining space, right? Bitcoin mining in the past, it was kind of a Chinese game, right? Like China controls as of today, they hold the most hash rate for mining on the planet. But I think what you're going to start seeing is you're going to start seeing companies like General Electric, Exxon, Mobil, British Petroleum, all of these like really, really massive companies that have industrial infrastructure. It's going to make sense to mine Bitcoin. I mean, it'll be like another branch of the business. It will be like an afterthought, you know, like tapping a new well. It's not going to be that big of a deal, I think. So I think over the next 5 years, we're going to be surprised to see companies that you would never think would be involved in Bitcoin mining, and they're just going to do it because it makes sense, because of profits. I mean, so especially look at right now, the oil prices are crap, you know. So if you could find additional revenue stream with the expensive equipment you already own, electric companies, for example, you've already got the power generation. You've got the power, you know. In some places you've got natural gas or excess oil, whatever you have, and you're gonna look for innovative ways to stay profitable. And to me, that's one area of growth. And then nation states. If you look around the world, you got places like Lebanon collapsing, Venezuela. Like these people are going to be looking for a way to get out of the currency crisis that they're having. So I think you'll see more of that, as opposed to speculators. You know, right now people like us are speculators. You know, we're still in that early speculation phase. We're not super early, but we're like early enough to where anybody that's gotten in the last 5 years, in my opinion, is a speculator currently, you know? So industrial scale, institution level investment in Bitcoin is like the next 5 years, you know, from my perspective. It's a different client, you know?
Yeah. And do you think that will really drive up the price, and then that's what will also naturally incentivize more people to come in and do mining?
Well, I think the incentive is already there. Okay, that's part two to that. So, okay, what I just said is great, but the actual private miner, the individual miner, that guy's gone. There may be a few guys out there that started, you know, like that were mining 7-8 years ago and just happened to make it rich, like in 2012 or 13 or something, and they're just loaded, right? But those are rare. I think that guy's gone. So now you have to be an industrial scale company to absorb the infrastructure costs. You know, like all the S9 miner guys, they're either gone or they're getting buried right now. You know, like they're getting washed out. And all the guys with the new S17s and the newer miners, they're going to be around. You know, the biggest company in North America went bankrupt, and it was a Canadian company. I forget the name of it, but they were based out of Montana, but it was a Canadian publicly traded company that went bankrupt right during the halving because they had too much infrastructure costs. They were using old miners, and they didn't leverage their way into the new the halving. It was the biggest one that I can't remember what the name is, but if you look it up, it's an interesting story because they had 4 years to prepare for the halving. And they literally went bankrupt like the week after the halving. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah,
like
that is crazy.
You know, so I think I think what you're going to just see, man, is like a lot of the big players are going to finally enter. You know, I think that's kind of the next wave.
Yeah, yeah. So with that being said, related to the Bitcoin halving, how long do you think we'll have to wait to see the price sort of, peak or go way up, or if that's even going to happen, similar to like what we saw with the last halving?
Okay, so like an interesting thing. What's the company's name? Backed. Company like Backed, right? Which is basically working with the stock exchange and looking for institutional investors. So what you're going to have, here's what you need to have happen and what's happening right now. As miners are mining new Bitcoin, you have to have a situation where institutions and investment grade clients are buying more Bitcoin that are being mined. That has to happen. You have to break that trend of, because what are miners doing? A lot of them are selling Bitcoin to stay profitable and just buying new miners and just building up capacity. So you have to get to a point during this 4 years where the supply is being wiped out by investment grade clients that are absorbing the miners' Bitcoin that's being mined, and it's getting there. It's getting closer to that being the case where probably in a year that'll be normal. It'll be rare. It'll be a rare month where that's not the case. So I think to get to the all-time high of 20,000 again, you have to have that scenario. That's to me that's what it'll take. Companies like Celsius, Nexo, the ones I mentioned before, you've got to be sucking up that miner supply of new Bitcoin. That to me, that's what does it. I don't know when, but that's the scenario, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. In terms of like Bitcoin that has been like lost or sent to the wrong address, or of the very many things that could have happened, how much of that do you think hasn't actually like affected the value of Bitcoin yet, or it hasn't been like realized? And how big of or how much of that do you think is actually out there, and how much of an effect do you think that might have?
So I think, for example, I don't know what we're at right now. What, 18 million, something like that, 18
Yeah.
point something or another. So of the 18 million, you've got at least 2 to 3 million that were lost. So, you're down to 15 million, 14 something, right? And then you've got the Dave Kleiman hardware, he had on a storage device, Dave Kleiman had 1 million Bitcoin. So there's 1 million. So you're down to like 13. So now we're talking 13. Then you got the Satoshi wallet. There's another 1 million. So now you're talking 12 million. Then you talk about the FBI. There's another couple 100,000. Then you talk about the government of Bulgaria. So realistically, the supply of Bitcoin is, it's probably like 11 or 12 million out of 18. Like 11 or 12 out of 18 that's actually out there. And then of that, we're still waiting for the next 3 million to hit 21 over the next 100 something years. So if CoinMarketCap accounted for the fact that there's only 11 or 12 million Bitcoin available, yeah, I mean, there you go. there's a mark on the wall, but they don't. It's hard to do math on something that you can't account for. You can't account for. I mean, how are you going to know? Especially with Bitcoin, you can break it up. Like probably Dave Kleiman's hard drive, it probably had 50 addresses on it, or more. Who knows? So for me, that's kind of like the big question is, does it matter? Right now, CoinMarketCap assesses 18 million or whatever. That's what they use as like the metric for Bitcoin's price. But nobody believes that it's accurate.
Although I would say maybe like new people coming in who don't really have like much of an understanding would probably be unaware of that. So my question just is, will we ever realize the value, or like tack on that value or take away value based on the coins that were lost? Do you think that'll ever happen, or do you just think that'll just be kind of a like something that we can't really account for?
I think, man, I think it's going to be like water under the bridge. I mean, realistically, like you need to get to a point where like Bitcoin, right now the volume, I don't know what it is on a daily basis. I mean, it fluctuates, but you need Bitcoin to be doing trillions of dollars a day in volume. You know, when that happens, it doesn't matter so much. So I think that's kind of like like if you look at Hal Finney, right? Said one time he said it was something like, you know, the market cap could be $100 trillion someday or something like that. You know, okay, cool. But that is assuming that the volume is just unbelievable. I mean, the amount of volume to have a $100 trillion market cap Bitcoin is crazy. So it has to be like Visa, you know, like he was basically like saying like it has to be a Visa-like company or nation states are using it for commerce. So realistically, for Bitcoin to succeed long term, it's all about the volume game. You know, that's really, you know, like look at, you know how like every couple months or so there'll be an article that gets put out saying a whale just transferred $1 billion and it cost and it was like it cost 30 cents or you know, whatever it was, you know, like that needs to happen times, you know, 1,000 times a day, you know, like that. Once you get to that point, you know, then things are really working. So people argue you can't do that because Bitcoin's slow. But if you're transferring large sums of money, do you have to be fast? That's the counter argument. You know, if it takes you 3 hours because of you're waiting to transfer, but it's $20 billion, is that still faster than 3 days?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, how long would it take to do that through a bank, right?
Yeah. So I don't know. I think to break 20K, man, I believe it's going to take some of the institutional guys to start playing this next time. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. So for new people getting into this space, like what should they be expecting, and like what do you think? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So like when I spoke in Malta, the biggest thing I said was the little catchphrase is, if you can use a smartphone, you can use Bitcoin. You know, and then the next step after saying that to a new person is you walk up to them and you download an app for them and you send them a couple, $5, $10 in Bitcoin, and then they go, shit, that's easy. All you need is a QR scanner on your and a camera on your phone, and you can send and transfer money. Like, and once you go through that process one time with them, most younger people, they're just like, that's easy. Why would I walk into a bank, right? If you're 21 years old or 18 and you show them that, why would they ever walk into a bank? Why would they ever feel like they need to if they know they could just send money like in a couple minutes? So
Yeah,
that's to me, like, you don't really get new people unless you got to walk the dog, you know. Like that's why like Roger, like a lot of people hate on Roger Ver. I talk shit about him all the time because it's funny. But here's the real deal. Roger Ver was right. Like he would go and do meetups in Japan, right? And he would just show people like, this is how you transfer Bitcoin Cash back and forth. He would walk people through it, and people would understand it. You know, like we need more people doing that. You know, like just I've done it with people. Just say, hey, let me show you how to do this. Let me send you some Bitcoin, and then once they realize it, you've got to help them though. Like 99% of people don't know what Bitcoin is. They just know it's some money that was valuable at some point. That's all, you know, that's what they know. So that's what I think. You just got to tell them that all you need is a smartphone, and then show them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, once people get a little bit of Bitcoin or really any cryptocurrency, especially for free, they'll find a way, right? Once people get something for free, they'll find a way to make it work and how to use it. So for me, I believed that blockchain social media that rewards people with crypto is going to be a huge factor to crypto adoption especially for, like new users who don't want to actually get their money involved, but if they start earning something, then that might entice them to start using crypto and getting more involved in the space. So what are your thoughts on like blockchain social media applications that do that?
So I mean, they're good. So I've used Uptrend before. I've tested out things like Twitch. I've tried to test out different things, but the problem you're running into is exposure. That's kind of like the issue you run into is you're not really getting the exposure you need, because companies like YouTube and Google and Facebook, they're just so easy. And so I guess here's my counter to this. Everybody wants Twitter to incorporate crypto into it, like for the most part. Like I want that. I wish like Jack would just say, Bitcoin's awesome. I'm going to adopt this Bitcoin tipping app. There's one called Tipping Me. I met some of the guys in Malta where you can send people Bitcoin if you like their tweets and whatnot. But the problem is like these companies aren't making the decision to do it. Like Jack could do it in 5 minutes. He could tell his developers, we're incorporating crypto into our Twitter design. Figure out a way to do it, but he doesn't. I don't know why, but he doesn't. So the problem you're running into is how you get users to these platforms. Because people like you and me, okay, great, we get more crypto, we like that. But how do you get people that aren't even in the community to join? Nobody's figured that out yet. Nobody's solved that. And I don't know the answer. I'm just saying, that they have to fit. Like, how do you get every time a guy on YouTube gets demonetized, which keeps happening for the crypto community, how do they get their people to follow them? Because it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not. I mean, I'm not seeing it happening. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, you're absolutely right. I do think this space is growing, but it is quite slow, and I think it is pretty challenging to bridge that gap. And you're definitely right. I think if any major platform were to adopt cryptocurrency, I think that would be huge, but I don't see it happening. And I mean, we saw Facebook was going to try to come out with a cryptocurrency, and that obviously hasn't happened.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Libra and everything that they were trying to do?
So when I was in Malta, I was on a panel debating the difference between Lightning adoption versus Libra. I was on the Lightning camp. I don't like Libra. I think Libra is a centralized power grab. All of these really powerful companies and found out a way to make more money easily, which is Libra. And they created this foundation that's complete bullshit. And they did it as a way to it's a power grab. It was a centralized group that were trying to take over the crypto space, right? And one of the guys arguing for Facebook and for Libra was saying, this is the best way to get adoption. And my thought is, you're right, that's true. But is it the adoption we want? Do we want to have Facebook today and then go full circle and have Libra basically, which is Facebook 2.0? So now you have a corporation controlling our money supply. It's like we just went in a circle. So like, to me, like it was philosophically, I thought it was not a good idea. But from an adoption standpoint, I mean, I can't argue intelligently that it's not smart to have 1 billion people using crypto or a form of digital asset. Like, yes, that would bring up more adoption. But there's so many issues with that. Like, what if the company says that your wallet is locked? We're not going to give you access because you're being too extreme, or because China says they don't like the stuff you're posting on social media. There's just so many ways that it could be abused, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that makes a complete sense to me, and those were some of my original criticisms of Libra, that even if we got all the mass adoption, if everyone's only using Libra and it's completely controlled by these few corporations, which they say was decentralized just because there was 100, which is silly. But yeah, I completely agree with your take on it, and I think it's good that it didn't really work out. I mean, as far as we see for now. In terms of like DeFi, how do you think that space is evolving right now? And what are some projects or anything that you see in the space that you like right now?
So I'm fairly critical of decentralized finance,
Okay.
with the exception of things like I really like Lightning, and every time I argue Lightning with people, the first thing that they tell me is that it's not a secure network because it's a layer 2 solution, and there's only been a $5-10 million ever transacted, and there's security problems. Every one of those things is true. so like every developer, or I shouldn't say every, probably 95% of developers want DeFi to be built on Ethereum. I would argue. I would say like, yeah, there's ones out there, but I would say for the most part, your average dev wants Ethereum. So I'm not a huge Ethereum proponent, but when it comes to DeFi, the biggest issue I have overall is escrow, right? Let's say that you're how do you control an asset that's been given to another company to manage for you, right? And still be able to get things like collateral, lending, all the other services that you would have from financial services without some form of an escrow service. Like for me, like, and I don't know the solution from a technical standpoint because I'm not a big tech guy, but if I was building a DeFi company, I would want to solve the problem of escrow services. So that way the company that you're working with and the client have a way to secure the funds without any problems getting messed up in a smart contract. You know, like it takes a certain amount of actions to fuck it up. Because right now, once you build a smart contract, there's ways to hack the smart contract. As we've seen over the last like 3 or 4 months, you can hack a smart contract if you're a really smart tech guy. So if I owned a DeFi company, I would try to solve the problem of escrow services. And if you look at, are you familiar with Ledger Vault at all? Have
No,
you ever
I'm
heard
not.
of it? So you know the Ledger wallet, right? So they
Yeah.
have a professional grade product, right? Where it's built for corporations where, let's say you and I and 5 other guys are on a team, right? We work on a team and we own a company, let's say a DeFi company. You can set it up to where the transaction to send and receive takes 3 or 4 or 5 signatures to actually complete the action, right? So that way on a team, you could secure the transaction as it's being processed. The problem with DeFi right now is you execute the smart contract and hope that it doesn't get screwed up because a hacker's smarter than your company. And we've seen like numerous companies go down because somebody just cleans them out by hacking the smart contract. So again, for me, the number one problem in DeFi is no developer or company has yet, that I've seen, I could be mistaken, solve the problem of escrow. You know, which is very common in corporate business. Somebody needs to take that model and solve it with technical, innovation and fix the problem. So to me, I think DeFi is FUBAR until somebody solves that. It's just a mess. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
But it has room for success. Just you've got to solve the problem of securing the transaction. That's the issue,
Yeah. No, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Would you say then that is an argument for like Bitcoin maximalism, or do you have something else in mind, or is it just because of the state that Ethereum's in right now?
I think that the smart contract is a brilliant idea, and I think I'm not a huge Ethereum guy because they are not acknowledging this. That's my biggest issue. Is like the Ethereum people. Like if you ask them that, they'll say, "Oh, the smart contracts are secure." Well, then how come they keep getting hacked? How is it possible that somebody like a 19-year-old kid can hack a smart contract to where they can withdraw all the funds out of your company and rob you for millions of dollars? How is that possible? And they all know the answer. The answer is they haven't solved escrow within smart contracts, in my opinion. They solve that, and then they have a business model, but nobody's willing to say it's a problem. You know, I think that's my biggest issue with the Ethereum community is they pretend. Like Ethereum 2.0, it was a failure. They couldn't launch, right? Admit it. Admit there's a problem. Address the problem. List out, here's where we're having issues, guys. And then make your developers like focus in on those problems, but be open with the community. Like that's my biggest issue with Ethereum is like it's not open, you know.
Fair
with
enough.
Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin community, it's very open-minded. Everybody knows you've got two factions. You've got the big block size people and the small block size people. They don't agree, but at least you know what the argument is, and you know why. You know why they want to increase block sizes versus not. Security versus speed, transactions, and I mean, at least you know within Bitcoin. Ethereum, it's just like I get frustrated watching them not explain. Like Vitalik will say very intelligent things that nobody understands, but at the end of the day, it's like, Vitalik, what's the problem? Break it down into layman's terms. Why can't you scale right now? Like, what is affecting the scalability of Ethereum? You know, like CryptoKitties. I think you guys have covered this before, right? How CryptoKitties,
so.
how they shut down the network because the CryptoKitties was so popular. It's basically stopped all other trades and contracts, and it just like they need to address it and find ways to solve it. That's my. I only trash Ethereum because I know they are smart enough to fix it. They just have to get out of denial phase. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You
know? So then back to my original question, is Bitcoin your kind of your main go-to then? Is there something else or is it kind of like an argument for Bitcoin maximalism right like in the current state that we're in?
No, I think as much as I don't want to admit it, I think that stable coins are the strongest argument for speed, efficiency, liquidity, entering nation states and corporations into Bitcoin and everything else. I don't like admitting it, but I think stable coins are the real alternative to Bitcoin as a adoption model. I hate admitting it because it works. You know what I mean? Like I'm watching stable coins grow in popularity, and I've used USDT before, and it's seamless. USDT is a seamless transaction. So that's kind of what I think. So I'm not a maximalist. I want to be a maximalist. I guess that's a better way to put it. I wish I could be a maximalist, but because of technological problems, you can't be. You know, you need to find new solutions. So I think USDT has a stronger use case than Ethereum when it comes to international trade, transferring money, bringing corporations in. You know, and then the argument Ethereum people would make is, well, you can build on Ethereum. Which, okay, that's true. I'm not going to deny it. You know?
Yeah. And like, what would you say for someone who might say, with stable coins backed by, say, or pegged to US dollars, if there was ever a crash somehow with the US economy, or, I mean, there's a lot of craziness going on. So like, how would, that being negatively impacted affect the stable coins? And if someone would say, like, can you trust stable coins if we're trying to get into cryptocurrency and getting away from the traditional system, but if we're pegging it to the traditional system, how does that all sort of work together?
I get it. I mean, again, I'm a very, very strong decentralized Bitcoin. I want to replace the Federal Reserve, central banking. I'm in that line philosophically. I'm in that line of thought. I'm a libertarian. However, here's the thing, like, you got to pay attention to what's going on around you, right? So China's creating a digital asset. They're making a digital yuan. You've got other countries all around the world that are making a digital currency. That's going to be a stable coin. Like, you know what I mean? They may not call it, like the stable coin of China, but it's going to be a stable coin because they're going to want it to. So I guess my counter argument to saying what if the dollar collapses or whatever, every country on earth and a lot of corporations are going to use stable coins whether we want it or not. It's going to happen. Like that's what's happening right now. So it's just a fact. I mean, so Bitcoin, I think, will always be around. And there's going to be cryptos that people build on. And then there's going to be stable coins. So there's going to be like different asset class or different categories of crypto, I think, So
Yeah.
I don't like stable coins, to be honest. I hate them, but I see that it's happening. I mean, you can't ignore what's in front of you,
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. Like I personally hold stable coins myself. So I'm not necessarily opposed to it. But there is a lot of people who would say having it pegged to the US dollar is kind of the opposite of what we're trying to do. But no, what you said makes a lot of sense to me. So what would you say to someone who's like just getting into the space or someone who's been in the space for a little bit? What should they be on the lookout for over the next little while? Like what should people be preparing for? What should they be doing? What would your go-to piece of advice be for those people?
I think you got to look at parallel trends, right? Like what on the tech side. So what's being built in the tech side that can be replicated on the crypto side? So, for example, things like telemedicine. There's some Ethereum companies that I like. So there's one called Doc.com, which basically has a telemedicine company where you can call a doctor on your phone, and you earn crypto, but you earn crypto by talking to the doctor or about whatever problem you have. It's like instead of going to the doctor office, you earn crypto talking to your doctor, and it stimulates this economy. So telemedicine, if you do research, it's going to be one of the top trends over the next 10 years as people get away from going to the doctor and they find ways to just talk to your physician from home because it's cheaper, more efficient, and a bunch of other reasons, coronavirus, whatever else. So that's a trend. So find companies that replicate that trend. You've got technologies like artificial intelligence. What cryptocurrencies actually use artificial intelligence for a purpose, like where it solves a physical problem? Those are the companies to be on the lookout for. You've got companies that are focused on, like I really like a company called Chili's. They're focused on fan engagement, esports. They have tokenized. It's like a tokenized sports economy, where they're working with the UFC. They're working with FIFA, working with esports companies. So it serves a purpose. It's built for fan engagement, and it's building layers on top of the fan base. So you're getting crypto clients that don't even care about crypto. It's smart. It makes sense. So to me, that's kind of what you got. Like so many crypto people just chase, like they're chasing candles. But for me, I think you should chase what's the next 10-year trend and find companies that are exploiting the trends to be successful. That's kind of that's what I would tell somebody who's trying to like figure out ways to learn,
Yeah, no, that's great advice, and everyone watching, make sure to follow that. And I mean, obviously, not everything is entirely financial advice. Obviously, do your own research and everything. But yeah, so that's everything that I have on my side today. Thank you so much for coming on. Everyone, make sure to go and follow Dave at Truthraider.com and all of his other socials. If you'd like to just list those out, that'd be awesome.
Hey, I appreciate it, Scott.
Do you want to just list out some of your socials for people to follow you?
Yeah, for the main social is on Twitter at Truthraider HQ. And if you go to the website, Truthraider.com, it has my other social media as well.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on again. And everyone, make sure to go follow him and check out his stuff.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video. Since you did, it would be great if you could give this video a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And you can find a lot more on www.BeInCrypto.com, and you can join the Telegram community and follow along there at BeInCrypto Community. Thank you for watching.